In this video, we're going to address a question that we get asked in quite a lot of demos concerning team sharing, and that is whether it allows you to share kind of more complex objects. A bit of background, if you don't know what team sharing is, it's a very popular feature in AdapTable which allows a user to create something and then with one click share it with colleagues. So for example, a runtime user, she can create a new report or a new conditional style or a new alert, and then with one click of a button share it with all her colleagues, and they're then able to access that report, style, alert without any downtime, without developers being required, without needing to stop and start. And the question is, that's fine if it's a very simple object, but what happens if it's a bit more complex, if it's got references? And as this video will show, that is also available in AdapTable through, as you can see, reference team sharing. And there's actually 3 use cases where this comes into, where this is required. And we'll look at them all in turn. In all of these examples are in our demo site, on our documentation, at reference team sharing. And in each of them, we have 2 users. We have user A and user B, each of whom has a different set of state, and then we share between them so you can kind of see it in action. So let's go into full screen so we can see a bit more. And in this example here, we can see that the first user has created a query. It's called hottest JavaScript. And this is the query, it's where language is JavaScript, etc., etc. And the idea behind queries are that you can define them in one place and then use them in multiple locations in AdapTable. You can use them in reports or in alerts or in calculated columns, or indeed here in a format column. So we've created this format column which is blue, and it's only blue for those rows which match our query. So this is the first example of team sharing where you share an object, in this case a format column, which references another object, in this case a query, and then we'll see that that's absolutely fine. So if I share this format column and I call this FC1, and we'll do a snapshot share. There is also active share, that's a whole other topic, and that's essentially when the object that's shared, any changes that anyone makes to it are then reported back to all users. Snapshot is more of a kind of an initial share, and it means that each person is now free to update the object without everybody else seeing those subsequent changes. So let's share this format column. There we are, it's now shared. And if I now come out of here and I go into user B, at the moment, obviously I don't see anything. If I go into format column, I have nothing there. But if I go into team sharing, I can see that FC1 was set up by user A. I can expand to see it. I can even actually see the dependencies like the query. And most importantly, I can now import it. So not only does it import the format column, but it also imports the query which that format column referenced. So that's the first example of reference team sharing. A more common use case is when you want to share a layout. Layouts in AdapTable are ways of managing column order, visibility, pinning, grouping, aggregation, and essentially it allows you very quickly to switch between different sets of columns. Now there's 2 other features in AdapTable which are relevant here, and they are calculated columns and FreeText columns. Again, we won't go into what they are, but essentially a calculated column is one which the user creates dynamically, where the display value is calculated based on other columns or rows in the grid, and a FreeText column is one where the user can just add their own free data, and that column is stored not with the underlying data, but in the user's state. So again, let's go into full screen, and then if we have a look, actually let's have a first look here, we can see we've created a calculated column called subscribers ratio, and this calculated column has a very basic expression. It's this column divided by this column, and you can see that here, subscribers ratio. And we've also created a FreeText column which is called comments. Let's just close it for a moment, and then you can see comments here. So there we are, we had the FreeText column and a calculated column, and we can see that they're both in this layout called special column view. There's subscribers ratio, and there's comments. So essentially what we want to do now is we want to share this layout, and AdapTable therefore has to look through the layout, find any special columns, in this case there's two, one calculated and one free text, and it will also need to share those. So let's now see that in action. So we will share layout 1. Again, let's make it a snapshot share. That's now shared. If I close here and I go into user B, at the moment I just have my default layout, and if I go into layouts I can only see the default layout. But if I go into team sharing, again I can see layout 1 has been shared, and I can also see it's got two dependencies, a calculated column and a free text column. So when I now import this, I've imported my layout, and now when I move now to my new layout, the special column view, I see the subscribers ratio, which was the calculated column, and I see comments, which was the free text column. So that's the second use case. The third use case also is concerning layouts, and this is about extended layouts. It's quite a complicated topic, but in a nutshell, essentially, as we said, layouts are simply sets of column order, visibility, grouping, aggregation, etc., etc. They don't, by default, include things like formatting, conditions, and styles. They are separate, and they are kind of across the board. They're almost global objects, which will therefore be shown in every layout. However, we do have this concept of object tags, which allows you to create extended layouts. So you can see in this example here, we have for user A, we have first view, which has this gradient column here, and it has this format column on language. And it's also got some dates in italics. And we have a second view, which also has dates in italics, but has a different set of formats and a different set of conditions. And the way that works is essentially, so if I go into this layout here for first view, if I go, actually let me go into say format column, we can see that this one here is only available. In fact, let's show format columns which are not available in the current layout. So we can see, for instance, the bold in name is only available in the first view layout. This one's available in the second view layout. This is available in the second view layout. Dates are in both layouts, and language is first view, etc., etc. So what that means in practice is if I now want to share this layout, which is first view, not only will I want to share the layout itself, i.e. the set of columns, but I will also need to share any styles or any other objects in AdapTable which have been kind of tagged to this layout. So in this case, I won't just want to share the layout, I'd also want to have name as bold, language with this condition, and dates with this italics. And again, let's go full screen, and let's now see if this works. So if I go into my layout, there's my first view, which is the one we're going to share. So if I share this, and I will call it FV layout, so I'm now going to share that layout, and that's shared. If I now go into user B, at the moment, again, there's only the single default layout, but if I now go into team sharing, I can see the FV layout is there. It also tells me what the dependencies are. I can now import the object as before, and again, as before, when I now look at my first view, not only do I have the layout and obviously the column order, but you can see it's imported the format column for name to be bold, the format column style, condition for language to be blue, and that the date columns are italicized. So there we are. That's 3 examples of how to use referenced team sharing so that when a user at runtime shares an object, AdapTable is sufficiently sophisticated not only to share the object itself, but any dependencies which that object has. As always, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. We're always keen to do demos of AdapTable, and we also have our no obligation free 2-month trial license for anyone who wants to try out AdapTable themselves with their own data in their own environment. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you soon.